I'm Peter Malone for freedomforjournalists.com. I'm very wonderful and privileged to have Mike McCann, Canadian South Blues Society president, on my show. Welcome to freedomforjournalists.com.
Oh, thanks, Peter, for having me.
So, what inspired you about the blues? How did the Blues Fest all come about?
Yeah, well, I was probably inspired by the blues long before Blues Fest came about. Blues Fest Windsor, anyway. Being a teenager growing up in the 60s, it was a different time, right? Like there was lots of players out there that, and one of the early bands that I was attracted to were the Yardbirds, with featuring young teenagers like Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck. They all went on to do their own things, and John Mayall is actually still around, another one that was really, he's older than me and he's been playing blues forever. Guys like Taj Mahal, some of the black players. Windsor, way back in the 80s, 80s had a real good local blues scene going on. Guys like James Cotton, Hooker, all them guys used to be in Windsor all the time, the Canada Tavern, in the drop-in tavern downstairs, they had a cave, and a lot of those guys went around Windsor back in the day,
I guess that would be because of Detroit and Windsor being connected with
exactly,
the blues connection, and that's how they formed it.
Music in the city was like, the Big Eight going back was huge, right? You would remember that, I'm sure. Yeah. Rosalie Tremblay, made the Guess Who and Bob Seger, and they both sang about her, yeah. And like, I think my first taste of a blues fest, it was about 1971 or 2, if you remember St. Clair College, and they had that huge amphitheater there.
Mm-hmm.
Ann Arbor Jazz and Blues Fest was a big cannabis smoke-in back in the 70s, right? So and it's college town, Ann Arbor, right? So the city outlawed it, right? So they came across the border here to Windsor, and it was Ann Arbor Blues Fest in Exxon, right? And I'll never forget that, I was like a kid outside, teenager, and seeing all these head shops outside the place. James Brown was on the stage, and Taj Mahal. And
this is Windsor.
Yeah, in Windsor at St. Clair College in the amphitheater, right? It was really, really, a big deal. Right?
Now, I recall Jackson Park had a role in that, and there was a lot of famous musicians that used to play there back in the day.
Well, back in the day, that's, I think my musical background comes back early too, because like my uncles, my whole family were in the music business, and back in the early 60s, if you remember the band shell at Jackson Park, do you remember that, behind Kennedy High School? Well, there is a group of people, I think, that are working hard to have the city come together and bring that place back to life. It would be an excellent facility to hold, summer concerts, and somebody like me, I could, introduce a lot of up and coming people that would be, glad to do stuff like that, and you could, raise money for the Arts Center, this film media place, that's hoping to get off the ground here. That in itself is an amazing project, and it would be really nice to see it fulfilled. I don't want this to be about me, because it's about our Blues Society and building the blues in our community. I take pride in what I do, because it's what I do, my passion, right?
Right.
You asked me if I'm a musician, and I picked up my guitar the other day, brought a smile to my wife's face, but I wouldn't call myself a guitar player that way, because like I said, I'm from the 60s, and I walked around with my guitar back then, thought it was cool, but as you got a little more in the teenage years, there were other things coming on. And as a Blues Society, I use music too in other ways in our community. I've run the Riverside Blues Fest, where all money goes to the Unemployed Help Center. I've raised tons of food and clothes for kids through that. So it's a great way to bring people together through music. I always say music is medicine. I have some good friends that are really, really in a bad way health-wise right now, but music gets them through it,
Right.
and they're in the music business. So
And
it's
speaking about the shirt, you were mentioning that some of your friends are on the
yeah,
t-shirt?
yeah, like this, I met, you mentioned Beale Street, eh?
Right.
Well, Bob Corritore here is this guy here, and my grandson said, "Why do you have vampire on your shirt?" But he's a harp player, eh? He's a super harp player. He owns a rhythm room in Tucson, Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, I believe it is. And he has about multiple albums out where he brings together all these different blues greats, eh? And puts out an album with about 16 songs all the time, featuring all these different artists. Eh? It's really something. So he's always, I met him about 2015. So every year he's sending me his shirt and his CDs, and so it's kind of cool in this business because I get CDs sent to me. People want me to listen to their stuff, let them know if I can turn it over to DJs, which I do, and they get airplay,
And with the blues thing, with donating coats and everything and all that, I imagine you guys raised a lot of money for those causes and everything.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I probably gave the Unemployed Health Center about $20,000 over, a span of a few years there, plus tons of food, and Coats for Kids was part of that. And we just actually, that band that you caught the other day, about a month ago, there was the Downtown Mission here and the Unemployed Help Center, they had a charity run that was going on. So June Muir, who runs the food bank, asked me if I could, get a musician to come in and just play some music while their fundraiser was going on. The staff was going to cook hot dogs and everything like that. It was going to be in the back of the food bank. So I got Phil Kane, the guy that was doing the singing, and I asked him, if he'd maybe come out, and that whole band turned up, all of them, and they're serious musicians. Like the horn guys are all part of the Windsor Symphony. Kevin Vinny on drums there. He's Alex Onjik's drummer. Phil Kane played with Jeff Healy. The keyboard player, he's leaving for Japan. They're all serious musicians, and they all showed up. I couldn't believe that, and there was no pay involved. It was just to do it, and that's a good thing about this city, and my history through the union too. I was a very community-oriented type guy too. So one thing I'm very proud of in this city is the musicians. If you need them, they're there for you.
Who's the most amazing person that you got to see perform in Detroit or in Windsor that you just blew your mind?
Well, I've had a couple of Grammy-winning acts. Nick Moss and the Flip Tops, out of Chicago, the Cashbox Gang. Out of Montreal, Don Tyler Watson and the Ben Racine Band, Little Ed and the Blues Imperials, they're all top of their game that I bring through, and these shows are, for me, are about a $5,000 show, but they're probably more about a $10,000 show because of the reputation I have, and we take care of them. We do. They're looking for a room even, a lot of people will put them up for the night.
That's amazing what you do for the city of Windsor, bringing in great talented acts.
Yeah, but it goes unseen though. That's the problem. It goes unseen. It really does. As a nonprofit, it's hard to get any real exposure. It's all done running around Facebook. Some networking, a lot of networking. I travel. You mentioned Memphis, but I go down to Clarksdale, which is an hour and a half south down Highway 61 and where the crossroads are. Right? Charlie Musselwhite will come walking up beside you, that's where they just hang out, to be themselves, It's like a really cool spot if you ever get down that way. It's worth the drive down, when you drive through all the cotton fields and the old sharecropper shacks, and, you just feel the history, and even Memphis. You asked me what for me, the biggest thing was going to Memphis and experiencing the Civil Rights Museum, right? And that's where Martin Luther King was killed. And it's the Lorraine Motel. And that's a part of the history, you know, that they're trying to close. You know, blues has a history, and that Willie Dixon said, blues are the root and the rest is the fruit, you know, and that rock and roll and all that, they just take those songs and they build it up a little quicker and, you know, jump on them.
I heard some blues music can really bring a person down right to cry and all that.
Oh, yeah.
With the music and the...
Yeah, but that's you know, it comes from your soul, right?
Right.
I mean, if you really, really feel it, you know, a lot of people think they play the blues, but I mean, you know, you got to feel it, you know, like when you saw that band yesterday, those, you could feel what they were doing.
Yeah, let's give a name out to the band that you keep on mentioning, so.
The New Normal.
The New Normal.
New Normal, and they're all local guys. If anybody out there sees this, you know, look them around, because if you like the music of Johnny Guitar Watson, you know, you'll love these guys. And Johnny Guitar Watson was Frank Zappa's favorite guitar player, so.
But before I let you go, you said there's a Grammy person coming to.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that too. Eh? We have. I was going to bring a poster, but Crystal Shawanda coming in May 12th at the Windsor Sportsman Club. She's actually Canadian. She's Indigenous, born up in Manitoulin Island.
Wow.
She's lived in Nashville for the last 20 years. Had her own TV show on Country Music TV, CMTV. I believe she won a Grammy for country music there. She's won 3 or 4 Junos in Canada for country music and Aboriginal music, which you know, I guess is Indigenous.
You said the date and the date and time already, right?
May 12th, yes.
May 12th. At what time?
So you don't want to miss that show, I tell you. And reserve tables for 6 or more. You can reserve through me. Go to windsorblues.ca and check us out on Facebook.
Okay, thank you for coming on the show,
Thanks,
man.
Peter. I appreciate it.
Make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And we're done.